Live from Charlotte, this is WBTV News, on your side.
We will never forget your loss. We will never leave your side. We're with you all the way.
President Donald Trump promising the full help of the federal government in the aftermath of Hurricane Florence as he gets a first-hand look on the ground at the devastation from the storm. We've been with the president as he met volunteers and families uprooted by Florence. Good evening. I'm Maureen O'Boyle.
I'm Paul Cameron. The president made two stops, one in North Carolina, the other in South Carolina. WBTV's Nick Oxner was in New Bern as President Trump met with neighbors there and started handing out supplies. Nick joins us live. Nick.
Yeah, Paul, Maureen, the pure mess that Florence caused here in New Bern was on display as President Trump drove right past this street. Take a look at the debris just lines the median here and otherwise busy downtown street. If you look the other way, a little off towards the waterfront, you see not one but two boats that were washed up from the water into the grassy area there offshore. But despite what might seem like a bad situation, the residents here in New Bern tell me it gave them a lot of hope today to see the commander-in-chief drive through and promise so many federal resources. Sounds of cleanup were everywhere in downtown New Bern Wednesday morning as people hauled bucket after bucket of junk that washed into their homes and businesses to the street.
It was horrible. I was here during Bertha and Fran, and this one was much, much, much worse.
People like Pam Yancey were cleaning out their offices. Trump drove by Wednesday as part of his tour of storm damage. She said the sight of President Trump seeing the storm damage firsthand gave her hope that the government would help towards a speedy recovery.
If we can just get the funds in, and I think we will. When the President Trump sees what's happened here, I really think it's going to start.
Governor, I want to thank you. Really fantastic job.
Before he drove by Pam Yancey in downtown New Bern, Trump and North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper stopped to distribute hot meals with the North Carolina Baptist men.
We serve 25 to 30,000 meals a day.
Patty Pennington met Trump during the visit.
I am so proud of our president. I really am. And that he took the time out of his busy schedule to come here and just to see what's happened here in our community.
She said the few minutes Trump spent helping people in need had a big impact on those whose lives had been devastated by the storm.
I was watching as the cars drove by. Some of them just had tears in their eyes. Just had tears in their eyes. I guess that the president would serve them a meal.
The torrential rains from Florence are gone, but the devastating flooding continues. Some of the worst floodwaters are just now hitting the town of Lumberton and surrounding areas, which is where our investigative reporter Nick Oxner went today for a tour of the damage.
This was the scene in Robeson County Thursday afternoon as the Lumber River, which spilled over its banks days earlier, continued to rage.
I might have some insulation wet, but it didn't get in my house.
Kyle Cummings and his wife braved the water to get back to their house. They said they had to leave in a hurry days ago when the water suddenly began to rise.
To me, it was more or less like a dam broke loose somewhere. It didn't, because I've been here for years. It didn't seem like rainwater would rise that fast.
The Cummings weren't alone in being forced from their home by the rising water, which isn't expected to go away for another few days or even a week. Water made its way into homes, businesses, and roads all over town, forcing thousands of people out. We're in Lumberton right now. Take a look. This is Hyde Park Baptist Church. It's one of the staging grounds for the Baptist men. Right now they're doing a drive-through where people can stop in and get a hot meal. And take a look. This is staggering. The traffic to get that hot meal, which could be one of just a few for people here in Lumberton since the storm, stretches way down the street. We're still driving now. We're blocks away from where the pickup line is at the Baptist Church to get that meal. And look, the cars are still waiting in the line. You can tell it's so long even that police have to direct traffic. It's a particularly hard storm to weather for residents who are still recovering from Hurricane Matthew that hit 2 years ago. Some areas hit hard by Matthew got hit again. Other places, like Cummings' house, got hit harder this time.
They called Matthew the 500-year flood. I reckon the good Lord just showed people you didn't have to wait 500 years to get another.
Reporting in Robeson County, Nick Oxner, WBTV, on your side.
The yellow paint on the road with fish over it.
Live from Charlotte, this is WBTV News, on your side.
Now at 6, towns ruined by Hurricane Matthew, taking another blow from Florence. as floodwaters rise and overtake main streets. Now, leaders say some communities may not come back.
Can Fairbluff survive this?
I doubt it. I don't see any way we can survive.
The situation could have a ripple effect across the state. Good evening and welcome. I'm Paul Kemp.
And I'm Molly Grantham in tonight for Maureen O'Boyle. The town of Fairbluff is already flooded, and now more water coming from upstream is expected to flood the river even more, and the whole town with it. WBTV's Nick Oxner went to see what's left and if it can come back.
This is Main Street in Fairbluff. Now, we've showed you Main Street many times from the sidewalks that are right under this boat. We have to be on a boat because about 3 or 4 feet of water right now. If this looks familiar, it's because this is what Main Street looked like 2 years ago in Hurricane Matthew. Well, the rains, the flooding from Hurricane Florence have swept through this town, and it's the same story all over again. We've talked with residents here all day who say they hadn't recovered fully from Matthew. Now this has happened again, and the worst thing, these floods are expected to rise again when the river crests Sunday or Monday. This is a worst case scenario for this town that may not be able to come back from this. Can Fairbluff survive this?
I doubt it. I don't see any way we can survive. There was no recovery the first time. We did not get the assistance that we pleaded for. I think we'll look at the community that used to be Fairbluff.
Now, yesterday the governor called for the General Assembly to meet in a special session in October to start appropriating money to help the relief efforts. I'm told now that the General Assembly could meet as early as next week to start releasing some of those critical funds. For now, reporting on Main Street in Fairbluff in a boat, Nick Oxner. Guys, back to you.
All right, Nick, thank you. Our investigative reporter, Nick Oxner, has spent the weeks since Florence. He's been traveling across southeast North Carolina, hearing stories of those who've been hit hard by both storms. Nick joins us now. Nick, can it happen really 3 times, like lightning striking in the same place 3 times?
Well, certainly. And Paul, as you just said, it's already happened twice. One woman we talked with called it hell. Another woman I spoke with said it could be the end of her life as she knows it. And get this, in the tiny town of Fairbluff, the 2 storms back to back could be the end of the town. This was our ride down Main Street in Fairbluff the Friday after Hurricane Florence. This is downtown Fairbluff.
Downtown Fairbluff.
And we're on a boat because we're going through how much water right now?
I say right now we're in a good 7 to 8 foot of water.
If this seems familiar, it should. Fairbluff looked pretty much the same after Hurricane Matthew came through 2 years earlier.
We're in a 21-foot boat on Main Street. I don't know what we're going to do.
When you heard that the storm was coming again, what was the first thought that went through your mind?
We hadn't repaired from the last one. We were going to do this all over again. We hadn't been made whole from the first storm.
State Representative Brendan Jones is critical of the state's efforts to recover from Hurricane Matthew.
You look at the town, no one was made whole. We failed the citizens by not helping them.
Can Fairbluff survive this?
I doubt it. I don't see any way we can survive. There was no recovery the first time. We did not get the assistance that we pleaded for. I think we'll look at the community that used to be Fairbluff.
What Matthew did, Florence just gave us the TKO, I'm afraid. We got the left hook from Matthew and the right cross from Florence.
Ray Lundy is a retired pastor who lives in Fairbluff. We first talked to him a year ago when he was critical of the slow recovery efforts.
We need help. Are we going to get help? We need it. Nobody seems to care.
I mean, realistically, do you think there's going to be the town of Fairbluff as it once was?
Not as it once was.
After visiting Fairbluff, we caught up with Governor Roy Cooper as he toured the town of Pollocksville, closer to Newport.
Horrible. This is so horrible.
We've been all over eastern North Carolina like you have the last couple of weeks, and we're hearing from people who still hadn't recovered from Hurricane Matthew, hit again by Florence. If I'm those people, why should they trust that the state's going to come help them this time when they couldn't help them in Matthew?
Well, we put about $750 million out for Matthew. A lot of homes that were repaired or that people got built back in Matthew got hit again in Florence. I think now, with our Department of Emergency Management having built up a Community Development Block Grant Disaster Relief Fund staff that it can put into action, with our commitment from FEMA, and with the fact that this storm is so widespread, there are hundreds of thousands of people who are going to need help.
Now, there's already some sign of progress at the state level. State officials tell me they've gained approvals to begin spending federal housing grants meant to repair homes damaged in Hurricane Matthew in 10 new counties just since the week Hurricane Florence hit. We'll continue monitoring to make sure those folks, like the ones in Fairbluff, finally get the help they need. Guys, back to you.